Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the old gyms versus the new gyms. The old spit and sawdust gyms against today's chained gyms. Are they as good? Can you get big in them? Well, all I know is I might be a bit biased, but obviously for me, the old school gyms were better. Certainly for bodybuilding, getting big in. Don't get me wrong, it can be done anywhere. As long as you've got weights, it can be done. But I think it's more the atmosphere back then, I remember when I owned an old school spit and sawdust gym back in the day, and people would walk past and go, they could hear the sound of the weights smashing, and it was just common. It was just normal for people to be in there squatting 280, 300. It was just a daily thing. And weights were crashing around, and people all the best bodybuilders would come together, and would be testing themselves and training and getting ready for shows together, and it was just an amazing atmosphere. You'd go there and you were there to train. There was no social media, there was no phones, you were there to train. That was it. So there was no distractions. And we used to love it, it was like a little community of bodybuilders that trained in the old spit and sawdust gym. So obviously things have changed, and then when I owned that gym, I started seeing gyms starting to open, these chain gyms. I thought, but I thought it doesn't matter, it's not going to affect me, because obviously them gyms are different, they're more for fitness. But, people started to go to them, and, where they've got swimming pools in there, they've got jacuzzis in there, they've got all nice new equipment that's gleaming, and, it all looks good, but... I think if you're bodybuilding, the hardcore gym is the better place to be. But like I said, unfortunately, them gyms have started shutting. They just could not compete, with these big gyms. Very difficult to keep them open because the rent was very high. It started getting higher. You lost a few of the customers to these big chain gyms, and of course then it was a non-profitable thing to do. And of course, it's really them gyms are run out of passion more than anything. And in the 11 years I had my old gym, it was some of the best years of my life. It was absolutely fantastic. And unfortunately, it come to a point when, I had to shut. But, for me, like I said, if there was a difference between them and now. Now, recently, I went away to Dubai and had a chance to train in some of the best gyms, oxygen gym in the world. And don't get me wrong, the equipment was ridiculous. I mean, it's just... unbelievable. It was like Christmas Day. Getting there, you want to train chest, you can do a chest press with every single possible angle. It was great. But then I sort of walked out and I thought, it's absolutely amazing. But then I thought to myself, the atmosphere, there was a bit of music in the background. It was very much like a library. People were on their phones and people were taking pictures and doing social media and doing a bit of training. I thought, this ain't what I used to do, and I thought, could I really get big in here? Well, as far as the equipment's concerned, well, I mean, absolutely the equipment's bang on, there's no question, but with the atmosphere, now you can create your own atmosphere. You can put your own earphones on, you can train with a training partner that's going to push you, etc. So definitely, I think, you don't, it's down to the individual. I can sort of create the intensity just from training in my garage, but some people need the variety of equipment because they get bored just being on sort of like your standard squats, leg press and hack squat, which is really all that was available to us back then. Is where now you've got the pendulum squats and you've got like all these different type of new leg machines. But I still say to myself, they built big legs back then, so the fundamentals, the actual basics definitely do the job. But I think that these new pieces of equipment that have come out in these new gyms are great. They're excellent and it's good fun, but is it essential? I don't know. This is the big debate. For me, I will always seek out the hardcore gym wherever I go, because that's what I signed up to at the beginning. That's what I love. I love being in that environment where, it doesn't matter that it's dirty. People are in there to train. The weights are smashing across the floor. Everyone's lifting and that. I love it, And then sometimes I go in these new chain gyms and, you've got someone following you with a Hoover. That's not really my cup of tea, but don't get me wrong, like I said, there's people, you can definitely grow in gyms like that because you create your own intensity, you can create your own atmosphere. But I come to the conclusion, old school versus the new gyms, for me personally, they can't be beat. I feel a bit sad for the people that are just starting to train now because they haven't really had the chance to understand what it was like back then. They've just come into this new era of gyms with phones and social media. Back then there was an atmosphere like nothing like it, you know. And I see people now and they always say, oh, you can't beat how it used to be back then. But you know, you've got to make the most of what you've got. Like I said, them old school gyms now are fading out, but I do believe that they will start to come back. I did have I did open another gym and try to give it a little go, but it didn't really, you know, work. It will never be like it was, you know. I think now people expect more for their money, you know, unless you're going to open a huge, massive, big gym. You know, the small little gym in the back street is just not going to work for a lot of people now. You're only going to have very select people that are going to want to come to something like that. So for business, you know, it's not good. But yeah, I really did enjoy training at these new gyms. They were absolutely amazing. But like I said, the atmosphere, you know, was a bit, it was a little bit like a library. But saying that, you know, if I'd have been training with someone and that, we could have obviously generated the atmosphere.